But I think I managed to thread the needle in just the right way. You know, looking back on it 2 or 3 months later, I don't see what I could have...
Oh shit, let's get going.
Holy fuck.
Let's go.
Okay, out of here. I hear gunshots.
Yeah, let's get going.
Time to get out of here.
We're past curfew anyway. Shit.
That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. See, most of the places are boarded up. It's really crazy seeing it like this. You know, I've joked about New York City being very close to if not a third world country, but this is, all the businesses are boarded up. If they're not boarded up, they get broken into. One of the things that I've always found really interesting about New York City is that there are a lot of businesses that don't have gates. They don't have that rolling metal shutter gate in front of their business. And I've always wondered why they don't have the metal gate in front of their business, because you have so many people who live here who cannot afford the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton, all the stuff that you're advertising all day, and they have to walk past it every single day. You know, you have 8 million people, a bunch of them are broke. Like, some of them have money, but most of them here are broke. And you're just gonna flaunt this stuff and just have it all in the glass display right in the front, in these highly populated areas. And you're just begging people to break it. And when I remember when I was speaking to some of the store owners that have these stores, they said, well, we don't want to ruin the aesthetic of the store. We don't want to ruin our store's aesthetic by putting this ugly, disgusting gate in the front. It makes it look bad. And I think that that's completely ridiculous. It's one thing if you're talking about the gate you can't see through, but it's very easy to get a gate that you can see through. And I don't think I've ever seen a customer say, you know what, I would have considered looking in that window. I would have considered shopping there tomorrow, but they had a mesh gate that was see-through over the store window, so I'm never doing business there. It seems like a ridiculous level of arrogance. Of course, somebody can still break your window, but it makes it very difficult to get in if you have the gate. And yeah, I mean, you could say that there are people that are going to pick locks and they're going to figure out how to get in and blah, blah, blah. But the people who are smart enough to do that shit are not the people that are rioting and looting for the fuck of it. You know, they have better things to do with their lives. And it also takes a bit of time to do it. So if you break the window, and now after you break the window, the alarm goes off, now you got, a certain amount of time until the cops arrive to break into the gate. So I'm very happy that my store had a gate. So we boarded up everything today. There was one little piece of security that I thought could have been a little bit better, and I solved it today. What if someone's able to open that gate? If they're able to hack into that whole system with the motorized gate, what if they're able to figure out how to hack into that shit and open it? Can't open it if the electricity's off, mofo. So, that's right. Good luck opening that gate. How we open it, let's just call that a secret. So, but yeah, I heard all sorts of crazy shit last night. I did a stream where you could hear what was going on inside the store. And you could hear at some part on the live channel people arguing and fighting outside. You couldn't hear it on the main channel because that one started a little late, but on the live channel, you could hear it. That person had to pass me right before we get to a red light anyway to show me whatever. What a waste. Anyway, so a lot of people have been asking me, how is reopening gone, Louis? How's been reopening your store? And one of the things I wanted to talk about is that I never actually closed my store. So, in that pause order, I was going through the list of businesses there, and it was going through what is essential and non-essential and all that shit. And it said that Technology support for online services was considered that. So what does that mean? What is technology support for online services? It's a very strange, odd, vague definition. So I figured, technology support, I'll include in there. So I had a conversation with everybody. This was around the end of March, and I said, the city has pretty much mandated, I think, that if you want to take the paid family leave, that you're able to take, your 6 weeks paid family leave, plus extra for this. I think they added some extra. And Dave, and this order makes it kind of vague as to whether or not we close. If we close, now, if you live with someone who is at risk, if you yourself are at risk, but stay home. I'm not gonna force you to show up. However, if everybody stays home and this lasts for several months and everybody takes this option, just being honest here, there's no company to come back to. Apple has the money to be able to close for several months, pay every single person, pay their rent, pay their employees. I don't. I'm a normal dude. I could probably do it for a few weeks, but after that, sorry. So we wound up with a system where some people were able to do their jobs from home, so they got to stay home. For the ones who couldn't do their job from home, but who had at-risk family members or had a cough or lost their sense of smell or any of that shit, we said, you can stay home. Verizon got smashed through. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Yeah, all the windows here got destroyed. But so and it seemed to work out, and I figured that this would really test whether or not this place is a shithole to work at, or just a difficult work environment that people somewhat respect or enjoy. Because if this was Model Sporting Goods where I used to work, and they said and my boss said that, nobody would show up to work. Nobody gives a shit. If that company's not around 2 or 6 weeks from now, nobody would care. And it actually worked. And everybody wore their masks. We socially distanced the front area of the store. We were cleaning the door handles and the door and the tables and the tools and all that shit and the machines that came in with alcohol nonstop. And it worked out fairly well. Now, it's interesting because on each side of the aisle, there were some interesting complaints. I had people saying, Lewis, you're a tyrannical employer for, if she can go, so can I. You're a tyrannical employer for requiring your employees to wear masks. I would not wear masks. I would not want to work for you. And then I had other people saying, kind of implying, and there were a bunch of posts like this. This one in particular was nice, but he wound up deleting it. And some of them were much, much meaner. She gave the police the middle finger. That really showed them. You showed them, woman. I'm sure that changes everything. Anyway, she.
Ooh, look at that. Look, it's Christmas lights.
It is Christmas lights. What was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about.
People thought you were tyrannical employer.
Oh yeah, so either I'm a tyrannical employer for forcing people to wear masks, and then on the other hand, I was getting people saying, I can't believe you stayed open, what a piece, and there was some people who said it nicely, and then there were people who just said, what a piece of crap you are, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think people really understand what particularly is at stake there. So I spoke to my landlord, and they had agreed to defer payments, but they do want the entirety of it at the end of, by next year. So next, any of the lost business from coronavirus, none of that, doesn't matter. I still have to pay the full amount. And the laws here were such so that all the people who work here would have been entitled to the paid sick leave. So pretty much, if I pay all of that, again, I am in line with the law, but then there is no business to come back to. And so I wound up looking at the stats. And this isn't from some sort of, conspiracy website. This is from NY or nyc.gov. On May 12th, between the ages of 18 and 44, without pre-existing conditions, we had 17 deaths. And no one at the store in particular has had any sort of serious issue. There was one person who back in, I think February, had a family member that was sick, so I had them stay home for the month. That's why I didn't do any streaming for the end of March and the beginning of April. You may have seen for board repairs, there was no video content there for much. I think I did some edited live streams from February, but for the most part, there was no video. I was doing the shipping and the front desk stuff for that period of time, so that the wanted to make sure that if you have this and you stay the fuck away from me and everybody else who works here until it's all gone through. But for the most part, aside from the annoyingness of cleaning, it's been fine. The way I phrased this to people, when they said, see, Lewis, you had everybody wear masks, you moron, when only 17 people between the ages of 18 and 44 by May 12th who had no pre-existing conditions died. You're dumb. I mean, if you look at the cost of them, as I've said many times before, again, it's costing $2,000 to $3,000 a day to stay open. Masks cost about $5 a day for all the employees. It's really a rounding error at that point to do something. So we all looked silly for a month or two. We all looked stupid. We were all wearing something that made us mildly uncomfortable. But I'm okay with that. I'm not bothered by that. I could say, oh well, waste a little bit of money and look stupid. No big deal. That's far better than what if this was a terrible thing and we were spreading it to people and we all got infected and nobody showed up to work. I'm more than happy to have spent the money then. Now, I do believe, looking back, that I made the right decision. The PPP program, even though I was approved for it and funded, was an absolute clusterfuck. And just because I was funded does not, I don't consider that to be genuinely successful simply because I benefited from it. The question is, did the industry benefit from it? The question is, did the majority of the small businesses benefit from it? And when you saw time and time again where the LA Lakers getting it and the publicly traded companies getting it, and I don't know anybody who got it. I mean, actually, Jessa, I think, got funded way after I did. She got funded way after I did, which is funny because she had a small bank and everybody was saying large banks don't fund you. But and besides that, I don't know anybody that actually got money out of that program. I don't personally know any business that succeeded in getting anything. So just because I got it, I don't think that I'm wrong when I was saying that this program was a mess, because my experience is not the same as everybody else's experience. There are people who said that the only reason that I was able to get it when others weren't was because of the 1.1 million subscribers on YouTube. And they knew that I could say things. But at the same time, do remember that when I was applying for a loan for the new store so that I could do it properly and not have the mess that I wound up happening because I was short funded happen, I applied for a loan, and I was about at 900,000 subscribers when I did that, 950,000 subscribers. And I was told, after being a customer of Chase Bank, doing business there for over 10 years, that I was eligible for $0. Now, I don't see how the change from 950,000 subscribers to 1.1 million is enough to change anything there. What I think happened is when I got this phone call around, what was it? Oh yeah, I went into the bank to discuss fees and everything. I needed to get a check to pay Eugene because he didn't take payment any other way. I had to write him a check. So I went to the bank to get a check, and I figured while I'm there, let me try to solve the fact that I have all these bullshit fees. So I tried to solve the bullshit fees, and I said, I'm one step away from leaving here because of this, that, and the other. And by the way, you guys denied me a request for a loan when the amount, you weren't going to fund me anything. And I have a good credit score. I've been doing business here for 10 years. I have not been late on a single credit card payment. I have a payment tech. I do credit card processing here. You guys make hundreds of dollars for me alone in fucking wire transfer fees every month, $2,000 to $3,000 in merchant service fees. And you're not going to give me a loan? And you're charging me out the ass in all these fees? I want to leave. Well, she helped get some of the fees taken off as a courtesy. And then I got a call a month or two later from someone who was checking in on me. And I think at that point I was on a list. The guy wanted to make sure that I was, quote, happy with my Chase experience. So I think it's kind of like when you would call up AOL and try to cancel in the olden days and it was impossible to cancel because AOL made it impossible to cancel. So they, So I had my own personal banker at that point. And when the PPP shit came up, I called that personal banker and I said, listen, I've been waiting for 15 days. I see you guys are funding publicly traded companies. I see that you guys are funding lots of shit that is not small business. I applied before these people and I haven't gotten shit. I'm not gonna stand for this, man. You know, what can you do for me? And the guy said, oh, don't worry about it. I'll push you through, blah, blah, blah. And then I got it. I don't think this is about having the 1.1 million subscribers. I think it was about having access to one of those people that wants to make sure you're happy because they think that you're about to take your account away, and I think I got put on that list for a reason. I'm pedaling, I'm pedaling, I'm pedaling. I'm pedaling. I promise I'm pedaling. Am I out of view? Alright, I'm motoring, I'm motoring, I'm motoring. Oh shit, I'm pedaling again. I don't think they care about that today. I think that's the least on their mind for today. But yeah, you see the way the program, the way this entire coronavirus thing went down is quite simple. Pay your rent. We're not going to have a moratorium on commercial rent. We're not going to have a cancellation of commercial rent. So you still got to pay your $12,000, your $20,000, your $40,000, your $80,000 a month for your space. Don't open your space. We expect you to provide paid leave to your staff for 6 weeks or more during the time that you're not allowed to stay open. What the fuck? I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. It's not even remotely workable. And there were people saying that you're, this evil, greedy capitalist if you did not obey this entire thing and that you wanted people to die. It's like, I don't really want people to die, which is why I'm cleaning everything, which is why I'm having everybody wear a mask, which is why I changed my entire front section, which is why I have not installed a counter, which is why I have not installed retail. The front of the store is literally just a folding table, a spray bottle of alcohol, and a Purell thing.
It's beautiful.
And then a seating area that people have to sit away from when we go to pick up the machine. And honestly, I think the way I set it up was pretty fair. Anybody who wants to stay home can stay home, and you're going to stay home with pay. Anybody who wants to stay, I'll give you a little bit of extra cash as a bonus. And you'll see it in your pay. And, that was it. That was that.
By the way, can I add something?
What's up?
I'm kind of happy you didn't get the couch because now since you have the foldable tables, you can move it however you see fit.
Yeah. Yeah, because if I had got the counter, I would have been screwed for the social distancing, especially if I made it like built in, the floor or some shit. It would have been awful. But if I had seen the death rate, if I had saw that the people, because again, at the store with the pre-existing conditions thing, nobody there has, and the age of the store is 20 to 40. If I had actually closed and spent the several $100,000 or went into HAKKO for it, not gotten the PPP thing, and saw that there were 17 deaths between 18 and 44 with no pre-existing conditions by May 12th, I can't say what I would have done at that point. And that I was out of business and I had to start from scratch from 13 years ago. Sorry, go to the Apple Store, no more Rossman Group. I can live with myself. I think I made the right decision. And the other thing with the PPP thing is that a lot of businesses still have not been allowed to reopen if they're not on the list of what is essential. So even if you got that 8 weeks, right? Even if you got that 8 weeks, right now it's June 2nd, a lot of businesses still aren't allowed to open. So that's, you could have gotten that PPP program and it could have been forgiven. And you still would be behind where you would have been if you had just closed your business and not paid your staff. Because if you had just paid, because right now the PPP money, that's pretty much, that stuff is dried up for the people who've been paying their employees since March 20th. That's gone. That's done. So they paid their staff. Now let's say they paid their staff and they paid rent. Now they're still behind. It's absolute mess. And then I saw what was being declared as essential, and I think that's what fucked me up in the beginning. When I saw what was actually being, oh shit. When I saw what it was that was being declared as essential, like liquor stores are essential? Are you kidding me? Now there are people who've said, well, if people who are alcoholics don't go there, then they will go to the hospital, and if they go to the hospital and the hospitals are dealing with COVID patients, then the people where alcoholics who go to the hospital who don't get treatment will die because they will go into shock because they don't have their liquor. And that told me something, because if this was actually a virus where it's, oh my God, we are going to have 30 million or 60 million deaths in this country. If that were the case, if that was where we were, I think things would be different. I think it would be, listen, I'm sorry. I am very sorry that you made the choice to become addicted to alcohol. But we're not going to risk liquor stores staying open and people and them spreading this disease and potentially killing millions of people because you chose to get drunk. And too many times became addicted to alcohol and now will die if you have to go in shock and not have liquor. If this were a disease that were going to kill tens of millions of people, we wouldn't be classifying liquor stores as essential in the beginning. Because that's insane. Like, there's a sock place near me that sells socks and underwear. Technical support is essential, but the sock place is not. I mean, I back up my data, and I don't use an Apple product. I use a ThinkPad. My ThinkPad has liquid resistance. So for me, the sock place next door is actually much more essential than myself. But to someone who uses an Apple product, who does not wear underwear and wears sandals, who doesn't back up their data, I am more essential than the sock place. Also, when it comes to essential, what is essential is one of those, you cannot define essential without giving a time frame. So for instance, let's say that we are in lockdown for one day. Transportation is essential to get people to work. Food is essential so those people can eat. The grocery store is essential. And that's that. And the hospitals are essential. And maybe the people who are in charge of electricity, gas, all of that stuff. That's it. That's the only thing that's essential. Now, and firefighters, police, etc. Now let's say you're on lockdown for 1 week. Okay, you're on lockdown for 1 week. Well, the person that gets to the hospital, they get there by bike. If their bike dies, they can't get to the hospital. So now the bike shop is essential because you're adding time. It's more likely that bike breaks. Now let's say you're on lockdown for a month or two. Now, well, what if that person's bike breaks? What if their bike breaks again 2 or 3 weeks in? Now that bike shop, their systems need to be able to stay up for that time. So let's say that their IT system stopped working. Let's say that let's say that their inventory system stops working, or the cloud or the inventory management software that they use stops working. Now the IT guy or the remote, what's the word I'm looking for? Managed services provider or something like that. The managed services provider needs to be considered essential so that they can fix the inventory system that bike shop uses, and so on and so forth. So the longer the lockdown is, the more things are considered essential because the more you will need them. There are many things that you could go without for a day, that you could probably go without for a week, that you could not go without for 2 weeks, that you would definitely not go without for a month, that you would start shooting people for if you had to go without for 2 months. So whether or not something is actually considered essential, it really depends on the timeline. And since there was no timeline given for the lockdown, it makes it very difficult to judge what is and is not essential. One thing that really got me back in the beginning of April is I had this one customer show up. She was clearly an elderly woman, like she's at very least 80 years old, and she's clearly in an at-risk category. She shows up, she has this N95 mask, she's got the gloves, she's got all these face coverings, all this cleaning shit. She's spraying stuff, and she's like thanking me for the fact that I'm spraying everything as she's touching it and everything, and I'm spraying the door handle, the table, and all that, cleaning her stuff. And I wind up recovering her data, and I couldn't help but ask, why is it that given the risk category you're in, that you are choosing to show up here? I had a good conversation with her about what was going on. And every now and then I'm just, I'll shoot the shit with some of the customers that come in if I'm in the mood for it. And she was writing a book. She had dreamed of writing this book for the past 50 years, and she's now working at an investment bank, and she just does it because, it's a job, it's a career, it pays her bills and everything. But she's never really liked it. She never really liked it. And she's always had this dream of writing this book. And since she was stuck at home due to the lockdown, she said, I'm going to write this book. And she actually wrote the book that she'd wanted to write for the past about 50 years. She wrote the book, and then she didn't back up her data. Because, I don't know, she grew up during a time where, you back up your data on a punch cards or whatever. I don't know. She was a nice person, but seemingly computer illiterate. And she said, and then she started tearing when she saw that all of the book that she wrote was still there. And she said, thank you. And then she went to hug me, and I went, no. But it got me to realize, fuck someone else saying what is essential. If someone feels like they are at risk, if someone is afraid of contracting the virus or spreading it to others, if they're afraid, if they live with at-risk family members, if they are at risk themselves, then I have absolutely no problem with them staying home. Really, truly I do. Stay home. But if there is something that is this important to you that you've been waiting to do for 60 years or 50 years and you finally do it and you lose it and I have the ability to get that back for you, and you wish to choose to take that risk, then you can. Because I asked her, why didn't you just wait until this was all over? And she said it, and it was a very, very melodramatic fashion. It kind of seemed a little melodramatic. But she said, waiting until this was all over to see if what I had wrote was still there would have killed me. And I understand that. As someone who stays at work until 3 or 4 in the morning all the time because I just need to see if I figured this out. I'm not kidding, I've had dreams where I fixed a PM Sleep S4L issue. I ride my bike back to the store. I set up my desk at 3 or 4 in the morning, dead tired, and I fix it. Because I can't wait until the next day to figure out if that was the problem. I understand what she's talking about. And I respect her deciding that she wanted to make that risk. And if she doesn't want to make that risk, then I respect it as well. Same thing with my staff. If you feel like this is a risk for you, if you want to, stay home. Just realize that if you all stay home, then there's no business for us to come back to and we're fucked. That made me glad that I didn't close the place for 3 months. Because I believe if I had actually, just on March 20th, if I had just shuttered the doors and put a lock on it, and said, this is vague, I'm not sure if technology support for online services means us, then I would have been absolutely fucked. I mean, beyond bankrupt, because I would have been paying the rent and all the people. I would have been paying rent and all the people in spite of the fact that I had zero income. All the people that sent packages to us would wind up getting delivered back to them, or they would have gotten lost. Can you imagine 100 or 200 or 300 laptops just getting lost? Because return to sender, sometimes that stuff works, sometimes it doesn't. Absolute nightmare. All the people that would have showed up expecting us to be there that wouldn't have. Because most of the people that were showing up, they were like, thank God you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Thank God you're open. A lot of them were people that were working from home because their office is closed. And they need their stuff to work. Again, had they followed my advice from 5 or 10 years ago and bought a T-Series or W-Series or P-Series ThinkPad rather than a MacBook, they would have been able to work from home without taking a trip to me. So my conscience is clean there. Now, the very interesting thing is that this entire year has just been clusterfuck after clusterfuck after clusterfuck. So first there was all the real estate liars, that whole mess. After that was done, there was getting screwed over by the architect. By the way, I am still coming for you, architect, just because I filed in small claims court, and that small claims court was supposed to happen April 6th or 7th. Due to the pandemic, it got delayed, but I do have my paperwork for that. And just so you know, I'm coming for you. It's justice deferred, not justice denied. After that, I had After that, there was coronavirus. Now after coronavirus, there's mass rioting. Rioting and looting. Right by my store on 26th Street and 27th Street on 6th Avenue. The pharmacy was broken into. The Korean restaurant was broken into. They literally have a sign on the door saying, "We are out of business. We are out of business. Please stop tearing down our store. Please stop breaking our glass." And these fucking pieces of shit are continuing to do it. So, crazy. So like, and this is the really interesting thing is how we went from season 1 to season 2 so quickly. Like season 1 in 2020 was Corona. Now season 2 is protests and riots. I want to be clear to make a distinction between the two. I have the utmost respect in the world for people who protest for change, who want to be a part of the change they want to see in the world. For the rioters and the looters, I do not respect you at all. But here's the crazy thing. Here's the part to end it on. Had I actually closed the store to respect the rules, like all the rules, you know, nobody should go outside, nobody should congregate or any of that shit, and then I turned on my television and I saw that you had 600 or 6,000 people screaming at each other, a lot of them not wearing a mask. Again, if you're talking, there's not a lot of droplets. If you're screaming angry, there's a lot of droplets going around, spreading virus to each other, completely canceling and undoing all the fucking work that everybody did by staying home. And I had went bankrupt, and I had destroyed my business that I worked 13 years for, and I had financially destroyed myself, reputation destroyed myself, fucked over all my customers for this, and then I saw that this was all undone. I can't say what I would have done at that point. I'm sure a screw would have went loose. Because if you look outside, this is not what we call social distancing going on right now. And you have people that are in hundreds upon hundreds of people in crowds, most of them wearing the mask on their chin or wearing the mask on their mouth but not on their nose, or taking off the mask when they're arguing, congregating with hundreds upon thousands of other people. You know, coronavirus takes about 2 weeks before you start seeing symptomatic cases. 2 weeks from now, you're gonna see an uptick in all of this. So man, all that work of staying home, like, man, that just got Control-Z'd. So I had a meeting with everybody at the store today, and there were 3 items that we went over, and one of them is, I know everybody's gonna feel like, you know, I don't have to clean the door handle constantly. I don't have to clean the table constantly. I don't have to clean the machines when they come in all the time. I don't have to disinfect shit. I don't have to wear a mask all the time because we're almost out of Corona. And I had a conversation with them where I said, no, it's quite the opposite. This shit's just beginning. Because people were afraid before. A lot of the people, you know, they were socially distancing naturally without being told to socially distance. And then we had the lockdown where even if people were disobeying, it was a minority of people disobeying. It wasn't the majority of people that were disobeying the order. Now you have people that are congregating in close groups together more so than they did pre-lockdown. So all of the protesting that's going on that's happening. The people are congregating closer together than they ever were pre-lockdown. And we are still in the coronavirus pandemic, so the numbers are going to start going in the other direction. I don't want you to think that this shit's over. If anything, you know, now's the time to be more OCD than before. Be more careful now than before. And I'm not saying that these protests are not needed. If you see what's been going on over the past several years, I do believe that the protests, period, not riots, protests are needed. And I would say that if you have to, you know, if you have to trade spread of the virus in exchange for getting this across, well, you know, such is life. We're going to have to deal with it. But I think the way forward here is, for reopening, is going to be people are going to have to take it seriously, keep your, you know, socially distance, wear a mask, clean shit up, be responsible with all these things. And there should be some sort of system put in place so that people who are in an at-risk category have the ability to not be financially destroyed if they choose to stay home during this time period. Because, like, you know, I told my staff, okay, if we only have half staff or quarter staff for a time being, we'll figure out a way to make do. I know there are a lot of businesses out there that are not doing any of that shit. Like, if you're not working, fuck you, they're not paying you. So I think telling people to stay at home if they're in an at-risk category, if you're afraid of the virus, if you're afraid it's going to get you, if you're afraid, stay home, you know? Because I had people saying all sorts of ridiculous ass shit in my YouTube comments. One of them actually deleted it because it was so fucking stupid. I wish I could post it here. I wish I had taken a screenshot of it. I very much so regret that I did not take a screenshot of it. But he was saying that while I was on my bike, I'm not kidding, I was wearing a mask. I had my mask on. Said that I am spreading particulate of virus to the people around me who are 24 feet away. So I'm riding my bike, I'm going 25, 30 miles an hour, 24.99 if Cuomo's watching, 19.99 if de Blasio's watching. I'm wearing my mask, I'm 20 feet away from the nearest person, I'm going 30 miles an hour, and he's saying that I'm spreading the virus and killing people. Like shit like that, and the thing is, this is the thing that pisses me off, is how polarized this has gotten. It's so polarized that people, that's actually considered legitimate. That's an actual concern. That me wearing a mask 20 feet away from someone else while I'm on my bicycle, moving at 20 to 30 miles an hour, I'm going to infect him and he will die. That's fucking insanity. And that shit needs to end. You see the CDC numbers, like the worst projections are something like 0.4% mortality in symptomatic cases. And by May 12th, between 18 and 44, no pre-existing conditions. You have 17 deaths. And then on the other side, you have people saying, I can't believe you're so stupid and you're wasting money on masks. Why are you wearing a mask? It makes you look like an idiot. I have looked like an idiot since I came out of my mother's vagina. I don't care if I look like a little bit more of an idiot here. This polarized shit has got to stop. Like wearing a mask is a sign of that you're an idiot, it's a sign of the beast, it's a sign of control. And if you open your business, or if you have any remote concern.
Oh, hey, we gotta get going soon.
Oh shit, yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, actually, fuck. That's no good. Alright, let me go to the end of the block and get out of here. That looks like shit's gonna go down there. But if you show any concern at all for what you've worked 10 or 13 years to build from nothing, then you're a prick. And one of the things that I found interesting there is when they say, well, you can just start another business. Just start another business. Just start another business. It's easy. Because what I find interesting there is that when people who tend to lean more conservative say just find a job, that this is very offensive to people who tend to lean more left. Well, maybe they're not qualified, maybe they don't have the education, maybe they do have the education and qualifications, but there's no jobs in their area at that time. There's so many ways that saying just get a job if you're poor is offensive. And I can understand why people would find that offensive. But then I find it very interesting when the people who would find that offensive say, oh yeah, you could just start another business. Because starting a business is way harder than getting a job. Way harder than just getting a job. And then I hear people saying, well, why don't you just become an essential worker? I remember when Cuomo said, why don't you just become an essential worker? So telling someone just get a job is offensive, but then saying that's bad. But you're allowed to tell someone just get an essential job. So narrowing the scope of it to a very particular group of jobs during a time that the economy has completely gone to shit is okay. I don't get how any of that works. But I think I managed to thread the needle in just the right way. Looking back on it 2 or 3 months later, I don't see what I could have...
Oh shit, let's get going.
Holy fuck.
Let's go.
Okay, out of here. I hear gunshots.
Yeah, let's get going.
Time to get out of here.
We're past curfew anyway. Shit.
That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.
And
No, the police is one thing, the gunshot was
and then
like...
I saw you go, la 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 la. I was like, fuck, let's go.
The gunshot...
I wanna make it home.
Oh, that was fun, girl. That was fun.